Good morning. Welcome. Lovely to see you today. I'm looking today at Romans 8. The bit of Romans 8 in verses 18 to 25, when Paul talks about hope. Now, hope, biblical hope, is not the same as the usual way in which we use hope in the English language, which is a bit like crossing your fingers and say, I hope it'll all be all right. I hope it'll turn out all right. I hope it won't rain tomorrow when I've got this special day on. That's not certainty. The Christian hope is certainty. It's a bit like going to an airport to meet friends who are arriving on an airplane. You expect the plane to arrive at a certain time and you wait for it with hope, knowing it's coming. It's very rare for an airplane not to turn up. I know there are times when it doesn't, and please don't go along that route, because there's nothing in our life that we can say that is as certain as the hope that the Bible talks about. But it's the nearest thing we can get to it. So you go to the airport to meet your friend, and the plane is due at 10:30, and you're waiting there expectantly, excitedly for your friends to arrive. And they have arrived. The minute they arrive, you don't have to hope they're going to arrive anymore, because they've arrived. And that's what Christian hope is all about. A bit like Christian faith. You don't need faith when you've got the thing you hope for. The thing you're believing for has already arrived. You don't need faith then. You don't need hope when the thing that you are looking for has arrived. The hope is there before it comes. The faith is there before it comes. And our hope is placed on what the Bible teaches will happen in the future. And this passage in Romans 8 is talking about the wonderful time that is still in the future, when the whole of creation will be redeemed. When Jesus comes back and the whole of creation will go back to the way it was when God first created it. And there will be no more death in creation. There will be no more animals killing animals to live. It will go back, and Isaiah and some of the other prophets have prophesied that. The wolf lying down with the lamb and the child playing with a poisonous snake. There'll be no harm, because the creation will go back to what it was before sin entered the world and interfered with the way God made things. And this whole passage here talks about the creation being like a woman in childbirth. Now, you don't look at creation, the world we live in, and think it's in agony, but actually it is. It is suffering. This whole world we live in is suffering. It's suffering because of our sin. It's suffering because it's waiting, and it's waiting with hope. So it says in verse 22, we know that the whole creation has been groaning in travail or in labour together until now. And not only the creation, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait for adoption as sons, the redemption of our bodies. For in this hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Now none of us can fully see or have seen or even understood what our future is going to be like. There are hints of it hidden in the scriptures for us to find, like a treasure hunt, you know. The scriptures is a bit like a big treasure hunt. Hidden in every book, in every chapter, are hints about the future. Just as in the Old Testament, there are hints hidden about the first coming of Jesus. And when Jesus came, and when people read the Old Testament and they think about the life of Jesus, they see that almost everything that he did was foretold in the Old Testament perfectly. Psalm 22 is an amazing example of that, where there are verses in that psalm which talk about the detail of people casting lots of gambling, casting lots to decide who would get which bit of clothing. And we know that happened at the foot of the cross of Jesus. There are lots of verses in the Old Testament perfectly fulfilled in the life of Jesus. But there are more verses in the Old Testament and in the New Testament foretelling what life is going to be like when everything is redeemed and when Jesus is in his rightful place on the throne of this world and everything comes right again and is redeemed. And those verses have not been fulfilled yet. And when we read them, we can see what our hope is, what the future expectation is for this world and for us. And we've started that journey. We know, and what joy there is, what peace there is, what amazing comfort there is in what we know of Jesus now. But we, as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13, we see through a glass darkly. No, the mirrors, the glass they had back in those days wasn't anything like the glass we have. It was all a bit smoky, and even mirrors were very smoky. We see through a glass darkly. We don't see clearly what it's going to be like. We have hints of it. Hebrews talks about this world, the things in this world being like a shadow compared to the real things in God's kingdom. And we know shadows compared to the real thing are very plain. They are colourless. Shadows are just shades of grey and black, depending on the intensity of the light. But the real thing that the shadow is the shadow of is full of bright colour. Look at the shadow on my neck here. Compared to my face, the shadow it has no brilliance or anything. And this is what life here is like, this world is like, compared to the world that we have to come. We have so much to look forward to, and we can hope expectantly until we receive it. Because we can trust God that what he has said will happen, will happen. And we have the foretaste of it in the Spirit who lives in us. These are wonderful truths, wonderful things, something to ponder on today. I'll see you tomorrow, I hope. God bless you. Have a great day. Whatever you do, bless the Lord at all times. Bye-bye.